Quick question for you here. Do you know how we used to punish criminals back in my days? Because, as you would guess, as the colony's executioner, I am quite knowledgeable on the subject, but I would like to know if you are as well. Hmm? Any ideas? Well, not so bad. Okay. Some of them we used to do, but I will tell you all that is to know about these sentences. So, first, you have to know that the seriousness of the sentence would match the seriousness of the crimes. So, for instance, if you had to commit a petty crime, you would not be condemned to death for that. And what do you think used to be a petty crime? Mm. Not exactly. A petty crime was more like a neighborhood disagreement, small assault, and some things like this without any such serious consequences. So, if you hurt somebody today, you would, of course, apologize. There you go, you got it. Well, it's the same thing back in my days. Huh? If you hurt somebody, you could apologize. And watch this, if you were educated, all you had to do is to write a letter. A letter that would say, I'm a bad man, thank you very much. And that's it, you are forgiven. However, if you are not well educated, well, then you had to apologize on the public place, and it could be quite shameful. And you would do this here with everybody around looking at you. You could also be admonished, so that is the jury looking at you and reprimanding you. You could have to pay a financial penalty. You could be imprisoned in a convent or a hospital, or you could have your assets seized. So those are for petty crimes. Those are the boring sentences, and so let's just toss them aside and move on to a crunchier category of sentences, the afflictive and defamatory sentences. Now, defamatory means crimes that hurt the honor. And what do you think used to be shameful crimes here? Well, shameful crime would be adultery, or public drunkenness, or defamation. So those were all shameful crimes. Now, how you used to be punished for a shameful crime was a shameful sentence. So, for instance, we could use this here, the shackles, where in fact you would have this around your neck, and you would be exposed publicly on a public place. By the way, here we are on such public place. We are on la Place de l'Hôtel de Ville, or City Hall Square here. So there used to be scaffold here, or a pillory rather, where we would incarcerate people there. So that's one way to punish. You could also have to do the honorable penalty, so that's praying in shirt on the church's porch until you ask God for forgiveness, until forgiveness is given to you. Or you could also have the reprimand, which is you don't have any more rights. You can't marry, you can't have children, you can't do any of those things. So those are the shameful sentences. Now, for theft or repeated offenders, we had, for instance, whipping. Doesn't need much explanation. It's quite self-explanatory. So whipping, branding. Branding is marking the skin with a red-hot iron bar. So we used to do this. You could also be what is it? Whipping, branding, mutilation. So that's cutting off some small parts that may hang from you. You could also be condemned if you were a man to row on the galleys of the king, only for men because you had to be quite strong to do this. And you could also be questioned, for instance, tortured. And now that brings me to the death sentences. Now, what exactly is worthy of a death sentence? Well, those were more serious crimes. For instance, desertion, that's leaving the battlefield, treason, nighttime theft, forgery, and that's fabricating false money. And all those crimes were worthy of a death sentence. Now, how we used to condemn someone to death? Well, it would happen here, and he would be on a scaffold with a rope around his neck, so he would be hanged to death. That's if you were a peasant. That's what would happen to you. However, if you were a noble person, you had the privilege to be decapitated. It's a privilege because it is faster and supposedly less painful. However, it is true in France, where it is done with a guillotine. It's very quick and quite clean. However, here, we used to do it with an axe. So, how could I put it? Results may vary. And finally, we had the wheel. Oh, what's that? You don't know what the wheel is? Well, you know what? I don't think you're quite ready for this. I look at her there. She's quite pale, almost as much as I am. So I'll just let you gather your senses and absorb everything I just tell you, and we will get back to the wheel. I promise. It's over there. Oh, hey, I forgot. We were mentioning the sentences, the death sentences. Well, what do you think was my sentence to death? Hmm? No, it's not that. You're going to be disappointed. Huh? In fact, I was not executed here. No, no, no. My death is something a bit more natural than that. It's a plague, actually. Yes, smallpox. Oh, terrible disease back in my days. One person out of five would die from this terrible disease. Long story short, it's some warts appear on your face, the skin of your arms rather comes off in huge ribbon, the length of your whole arm. Your face takes the texture and appearance of the Fieldberry oatmeal that's just a little overcooked and that's mushy on the side. It's not a lovely sight, needless to say. So I died of this disease on May 21st, 1703, after 23 long and faithful years of being the colony's executioner. And Marie, my wife, she died in January of the same year. That's strange. She died before me of this disease. Do you think it's possible that she gave it to me? Well, I don't know. It's her type. I mean, she is such a generous woman. She might have given me the smallpox as well. But in any case, let's not think too much about that and go on.